ever been disrespected as a leader? Has it happened to you? This, by far, is one of the biggest challenges that leaders tend to experience. And what I have seen that happens that you will not have to worry about by watching the end of this video is, how do you handle it? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to say? How are you supposed to say it? In this video, yes, leaders, I'm going to share with you what you need to say when someone disrespects you as a leader. This, I want to preface this by saying, this is how situations like this is when you start to establish your executive presence. I am asked oftentimes by the women in leadership that I work with specifically, how can I develop my executive presence? What do I need to do? Well, the one situation that will guarantee you to be able to start elevating your executive presence is by handling disrespect. So in this video, you're going to learn my step process in terms of what I do specifically, what I share with my clients. And this is my over 20 years of experience as a C-suite executive, as a manager, as a director, as a public speaker, and as an executive coach to help fast track you. So when this situation comes up, you know exactly what you need to say to showcase your executive presence when someone tries to disrespect you. You have to take disrespect very seriously. This is something that can happen in two different formats, and I'm going to talk about two different formats you can experience disrespect and how you manage each one, and then talk about what you need to say to start showcasing your executive presence immediately when disrespect happens, because if it happens, you have to address it. Please do not be the person that is afraid, that just sits quietly and just waits to see what happens. This is not what you want to do. Now, if you like this information, you want to watch this video to the end. If you have ever been disrespected as a leader or even outside of leadership, this is a great way for you to be able to start developing a system to manage disrespectful people instead of being caught off guard and you're saying, hey, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do when someone disrespects me. I don't want you to be that person at all. So if you're watching this portion of the video, you are watching the replay more than likely. And on YouTube, there's a point where individuals start to join, and I will say hello to everyone. Just give me a few moments to say hello, and then we're going to go into what you need to say as a leader if you feel like you are being disrespected. So what's up, Trey? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Diamond Denault. Hello, welcome, welcome. Let's see, the Dog Squad. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Kurt Gibson. Hi, pretty, from Denton, Texas. Hello, welcome, Kirk. How you doing today? I am in the Sunshine State of Florida, and if you all want to know what to do and what to say when someone disrespects you as a leader, you're going to absolutely want to stay to the end of this live video. I want to know how I can support you. So if you have any questions as it relates to this, let me know. And if you like this information, feel free to subscribe to the channel, because I talk about how you can elevate yourselves in terms of how you communicate, because people become great by how they communicate. So I'm going to unlock the greatness in you today by helping you to learn how to communicate in these very hard and challenging situations. I'm going to make it easy for you. All right, so bear with me if this is your first live with me. There's some features that I have on YouTube, and many of you may know or may not know. I'm a member, have been invited to be a part of the YouTube live streamer research panel. So there's a couple of features I want to use. I'm going to ask y'all a question. I want to see your response to see what you have to say. All right, so we have the Dog Squad. I said hello. Thank you, the Dog Squad. Hello, you are pretty. I appreciate that. Thank you. Kirk Gibson says, right. Elmira, hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. Elmira, P.I. Morarian, I believe I said it correctly. Thank you so much. I appreciate your well wishes. Awesome. Let me know where you all are joining from in this big, beautiful world today. Where are you joining from? Let me know. We got Denton, Texas here. Where else? And so Kurt Gibson says, that's awesome. Absolutely, Kurt. You're welcome to subscribe to the channel. Glad to have you here. All right. So let me start off. As I mentioned, I've been working on polls with YouTube. The polls do not work as well. Let me ask a question to you all. Give me just a second. I'm typing the question, so don't leave yet. Let's see. Did you do? Let's see. Let's see if you all can see this question. Okay, so I want y'all to let me know if you see this. Do you see this question? Let me move it. Sometimes it lets me. Okay, so give me a moment. Let me move the icon here. Sometimes it lets me move it and sometimes it does not. So for some reason on the lives, it will let me move it later for some reason. I did it earlier today and it's letting me move it later. So I'm gonna try to lean down so I can see you all. So let me know what happens. What did you do when you were disrespected? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to know, what did you all do when, oh, now it's letting me move it. Yay, great. So what did you all do when you were disrespected? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know so I can know. All right, so Elmira is from Iran. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here. Okay, Nate Higers, hello, welcome. Axel Melted, welcome back. It's me again. Quickly, just a question. Is your name Jacinta? Do you speak French? No. So actually, yes, my first name is Jacinta. So I go by Dr. Jacinta, and I do not speak French. So thank you for asking, and welcome back. Glad you're back. So we have Bill's Cat Gaming. Okay, awesome. And let's see. Okay, so Bill's Cat Gaming. So let me tell you right now, I'm not sure what you're alluding to, but it looks inappropriate. So this is a channel, this is a live that is really here to help people understand how to manage those very challenging and contingent situations that come up if they're disrespected as leaders. So if you're talking about something that is inappropriate or offensive, I'm absolutely not going to entertain that here. And so this is something that you don't want to say. Oh, okay. So you said something else because you said, okay. So now Bill's Cat Gaming says something else. Okay, so now we're clear. Okay, I got it. I understand. I have, believe it or not, Bill's Cat Gaming, I had someone say that word on my chat. And it was offensive, and it was, luckily in the replay you don't see it, but live you do. And I had a couple of people on my that were watching the live and said, no, you can't say it. That's not okay. So that's why I was checking. So thank you so much, friend, for being able to clarify. So, but still, we're being friendly here. We're being very, very strategic, and I'm about to give you over 20 years worth of experience in a very short amount of time. So let me see what else is going on in the chat before I go into what you need to do. So let's see. Kurt Gibson says, I'm humble and very respectful. So haters that are disrespectful are their own issues. Yes, so absolutely agree with you. There's times, Kurt, where depending on the situation, you may want to say something or you may not. And let me see if I can move this off of this question up here. It will not let me move it up. Okay, well, no problem. I'll just slide down a little bit. So let's see. The Dog Squad. Now, the question, if you all see it on the chat, is if you see it on the chat or if you see it on the live replay, it's like literally right here on my head. I'm not sure how it comes up. This is my first time actually using the poll option on YouTube. So the question is, if you see it or if you don't see it in the replay. Now, I know the live audience, I know you all can see it. But the question is, what do you do when you are disrespected, when you were disrespected? So Kurt gave us a response. The Dog Squad said, I like to talk to them and be like, you don't like this powwow. That's what I do when I'm disrespected. Sorry if I was mean or bad. Well, I appreciate you mentioning about the powwow. That is, and I chuckle because that is actually very, very funny to me. Because it is a powwow, and so we can use some strategies from Kurt and some strategies from the Dog Squad in terms of how can we manage these situations when they come up. Now, I'm sharing this with you from the perspective of someone that has been a C-suite executive and managed many, many employees and been a manager, a director, and a public speaker for over 20 years. So I'm going to give you the very higher level of strategy that is definitely more advanced for those of you who are joining. Okay, so IXO Meltic says Luke 6:29-30. I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but if you want to put it in the chat, you're welcome to do so. And the dog squad, that's okay, it's no problem. I appreciate it. It was still the way you said it. It was very humorous to me. So I appreciate that. So Kirk Gibson says saying something will not change that person 90% of the time. Sometimes it causes even more problems. I'm a professional, humble fighter and coach. Okay, fantastic. Well, I appreciate you definitely saying that. So, Kurt, there's some situations that will come up, and we'll talk about those also, where you may not necessarily have to say something, but you have to show your executive presence depending on the setting that you are in. And so I'm going to talk about those in just a few moments. So the dog squad said, I'm glad I made you laugh. Yes, that was very funny. That was very funny to me. That was probably my biggest laugh for today. So there's different scenarios when you are disrespected in terms of how do you handle it? What do you do? And so on this channel, I'm helping you to communicate at a higher level. And so I'm dealing with individuals who are in leadership roles or may be going to that next level in their leadership journey, they're being promoted or etc. And these situations happen. I personally have been in very friendly conversations and I've been in very contentious conversations also. So I deal with the hard, complicated scenarios. So this is what I want to share with you today. So there's two scenarios. Either someone is saying something disrespectful, and I have two categories, okay? I have two. One is the person saying something disrespectful privately to you. Okay. The next is they're saying something disrespectful in front of a bunch of people. So this will be publicly. How you handle them is somewhat similar. And there's times, Kurt, as you mentioned, sometimes you don't need to say anything. Sometimes you may need to find out exactly where they're coming from or what they're trying to say. They may not be disrespecting you on purpose. It may be something that they are saying and they didn't realize it was disrespectful. So if I was in a private setting with someone and they mentioned to me something that I felt that was disrespectful, I would ask them to, can you clarify what you mean by that? And most of the time people will say, oh, I meant to say this. And then you find out immediately that maybe they didn't mean it to be disrespectful. They were just trying to say something in a way that was maybe not the best way, not the most articulate way or concise way to actually say it. So if it's something that happens privately, just talk to the person. As it was mentioned earlier by the dog squad, maybe not necessarily tell them you don't want this powwow, but you could also say that I hear what you're saying. Can you please explain this? Can you share with me your perspective on this? And when you're talking to somebody privately, your conversation should be very cordial. It should be very respectful. Even if someone's being disrespectful, as long as they're not, raising their voice or being completely ridiculous, then you still want to ask them and find out where they're coming from. And I say this because those seconds that you ask that actually help to buy you time, because that person, when you put the question back to them and say, what specifically are you referring to, or can you explain or share with me what your insights are? This gives you time to think about what you want to say and listen to what they have to say while they are thinking, because most of the time when people say things that maybe are not entirely respectful, they may say it and think they can just say it and let that be it. But if you put the question back, then what happens is the person has to say, oh, wait, they asked me a question back. Let me think of how I want to respond. So while they're thinking of what they want to say, you're listening to hear exactly, well, what are they trying to say? Is there some validity in what they're trying to say? Or maybe they're not saying it in the right way. So you can process what they are actually saying. So that's what happens in a private setting. You have a conversation, be cordial, and just ask, like, what's going on? Like, is there something else happening? Is there something else going on outside of here? Like, what exactly is going on? Now, when you're interacting with someone publicly, that, my leaders, is a little bit differently. So let me go back to the chat and see what's going on and what comments that we have. Okay, so Kirk Gibson, most people say disrespectful things, don't think before they speak. Kirk, that's exactly right. Unless they say something about my loved one. So Yes, yes, and of course that's something you definitely want to do a check for sure. And Kirk made a really good point because this does happen, and as I mentioned, this is one of the reasons why if I'm in a private setting, I would ask them, "Can you please clarify what you're trying to say?" Because it's just me and that person talking. And you can pick up pretty quickly like what's going on because most of the time people are saying things that they don't know what they're saying, and this is one of the reasons why I work with my audience specifically to help you be able to formulate your responses in a very concise way so that you are not that person that just speaks and just says stuff and just don't specifically know what you're saying. If you're following my channel or subscribed to my channel or liking this video, I'm helping you to elevate in terms of how you are communicating in great situations and challenging situations also. So I want to make sure that you are not that person that just speaks and says things when you don't think about it. So definitely I wanted to do that. All right, so the dog squad said, I like your glasses, love it. It gives like going to the store, getting your nails done. Slay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you liking my glasses. I appreciate it. Kirk Gibson says, exactly. They speak before they think. Exactly, Kirk. Exactly. You've seen this happen. I've seen this happen. So I know that you have been in leadership roles before. So Kirk also did say that I get that on a text level, but in person, it's something different. So in person gives you the opportunity to definitely to just have that warm dialogue, have that charisma about how you manage those challenging situations. And you're right, in person it is different. And so now I'm going to talk about a bit about what happens when this happens publicly. Now, publicly is something that you have to take very, 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 very seriously, because when you are in a public setting, and I'm focusing in on the leaders, the individuals that are trying to build an executive presence. And an executive presence, I have several videos here on my YouTube channel that talk about it. This is something that helps you to showcase yourself as a leader. So if you're trying to elevate in your career and go to that next level, an executive presence is something you're definitely going to need to have if you're trying to really go to that next level. And I mean, elevate yourself very, very high. So when someone disrespects you publicly, you have to do it a bit differently. It's almost, the way I want to explain it is you have to test it first. So similar to being in person, you have to find out, is this person purposely being disrespectful, or are they just speaking without thinking, just as Kirk Gibson said? They could be doing something like that. Or it could be a scenario where they are speaking and they are thinking and they are intending to disrespect you. Now, that's where your executive presence has to come in. There has to be something that's said. Because one of the challenges I see people deal with as it relates to their executive presence is that they are not consistent with it. And so consistency is so important to executive presence. I have seen C-suite executives like myself completely lose this. And so what happens is they will have a day where it's just an off day, and they show themselves in a different way that they normally would not be. And I tell individuals that really you have to be very, 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 very consistent with your executive presence. So regardless of if the sun is shining or if it's thunderclouds outside, you have to have some consistency as a leader. Now, we all have good days, off days, and etc., but you want to minimize those, especially as much as you can when you are forward facing as a leader. You don't have to be perfect or present yourself as perfect all the time, but you have to be fairly consistent in terms of how you manage and how you conduct yourself as a leader. So let's say someone says something disrespectful to you in a group setting. So that means there's other people around. It's not one-on-one private like we talked about a moment ago. In a group setting, what would you do? Let me know in the comments below. What would you do in a group setting if you were disrespected? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. So let me know in the comments below. Now, what I'll share with you while I'm receiving your comments is that if it's in a group setting, you want to find out, where am I going? What's going on here? Okay. So first, before I go into what I would do, let me see what you all are going to do, or what have you done. Okay, so Kirk Gibson says, I've done it many times, being a manager, bringing people behind closed doors and trying to find out what happened. Exactly. Most of the time, it's people that can't take criticism. That is true. And a lot of times that will happen especially as a manager. So Kirk is a manager, and so that's exactly who I am working with on my channel, is individuals just like Kirk and everyone else that's joining live today. So yes, you do try to have a conversation behind closed doors as much as you can. But sometimes if you're in the middle of a conversation, and this is a public, let's say it's a meeting you're having, what do you do? What do you do when someone disrespects you in a meeting? You have two choices. Choice number one is to say nothing. Okay. Choice number two is to say something. Those are your two options. Either say something or you don't say anything at all. Now there's pros and cons to both. If you say nothing, then you will be the person that is basically somewhat co-signing on what this person said that was disrespectful. That's if you say nothing. Now, you can use silence strategically in your conversations, but how you use it and when you use it is extremely important. So that silence piece that Kirk Gibson talked about earlier and not saying anything, that is helpful, but there's strategic times when you want to do it and when you don't want to do it. Now, if you decide to say something, then this is what you will need to say. So someone says something disrespectful to me in a meeting, and I'm gonna give you an example of how I would handle it, or how I've handled it many times in the past. Initially, if I'm not quite sure if this person is really being disrespectful, then I would ask them, excuse me, can you clarify what you mean? Somewhat similar to the private conversation. However, my tone of voice would be different. It would not be my maybe baseline tone of voice. And I talk about this in my videos oftentimes. Knowing your tone of voice, you have to check out a couple of my lives that say tone of voice. I'll probably talk about there. But my tone of voice would be a little bit different than if I'm one-on-one. If I'm one-on-one, I'd be talking to you a bit like I am right now, very conversational in my delivery. But if I'm in a public setting and someone is being disrespectful to me, I'm not going to be conversational necessarily. I still want to know where are they coming from, but I would change my tone of voice. So what would I do? My tone of voice would be a bit more affirmative and a bit lower than probably normal. So I would say, excuse me, can you please explain what you are referring to? And stay silent. So as Kirk mentioned, this is when silence, this is a strategic silence when you want to say it. Because the process that happens is similar to the one-on-one. The person may say, oh, they want me to say something back. And then they have to think of what they want to say while you are listening to what they have to say. So that gives you time to just think about it. So that is what I would do in a public setting. Now, if this person says, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say, explain it this way or that way or etc., then that's fine. Okay, then maybe this person didn't mean to be disrespectful, as Kirk Gibson mentioned earlier, where sometimes people will just say things and just say it and not really think about what they're saying. So maybe it's that. Now, if the person says, maybe they reiterate what they said and are still disrespectful, that's when you have to say something a little bit different. The way you say it is your tone of voice. Your tone of voice has to be definitely more affirmative. So if we've already asked them if they can clarify, right? Can you please clarify what you're referring to? And they give you a response back and it's, well, they're being very disrespectful. That's not okay. So what you want to do is I would ask them, can you please give me a specific example of what you're referring to? And just listen to what they have to say. Why is this important? Even though you have a dialogue, this dialogue is not contentious. You don't have to present yourself as being a contentious or annoyed. This is not what executives do. Executives are the individuals that are very calm under pressure. So you don't need to come across with emotion and say, and make a face or make a scowl or anything like that. You don't need to do that. However, you do need to change your tone of voice. It does need to be a bit more affirmative, and you need to have direct eye contact with that person. So what I will say, that I have an analogy, and if you all want to know about it, it's on so many of my videos, but I call it the cowboy analogy. That is my analogy to mastering eye contact with other people. It is called the cowboy. And if I have some time, I'll talk to you more about it. But you want to have, and I talk about it on a ton of my YouTube channels also. So having direct eye contact and asking them for a specific example is helpful. So the things you want to do when this dialogue happens back and forth is to listen to what they're saying. Is there something that is correct in terms of what they're saying? Is there something that maybe is accurate and you need to maybe elaborate on? You have to listen to what is actually being said so you know exactly how to respond. This is really, really important. Why is this so important? And as soon as I say this, I'm going to go back to the chat. Because the people around you, they are watching you. They are watching you and the other person. Like cowboys, they are watching you and watching this person, watching you and watching this person. And I know, as silly as it may sound, these situations, when they happen, they impact your executive presence tremendously. Either you're going to go up or you're going to go down. And I don't want you to go down. I want you to go up. So you have to make sure that even if there's that dialogue and someone's being disrespectful, you still have to present yourself in a way as an executive, as that person who is able to have a conversation, but ask inquisitive questions depending on what is actually being said. So this is not something you want to do anyways. You want to make sure you are the person that is presenting yourself as the leader that can actually manage conversations when they come up if it's very, very contentious. So this is something that's really important. When you're in a group setting, it's a little bit different, but you just don't want to come across as that person that is highly emotional, that's upset, that's arguing. You definitely don't want to do that. You still want to have that very calm voice, but you just have to change your tone of voice just a little bit just to get more clarity so that if someone's disrespecting you, the group itself as a whole is not seeing that, oh, okay, this person just, this person said this person said this about this person, and they just went away with it. We don't want you to necessarily be in that situation. So let me go back to the chat. So the Dog Squad said, you are my favorite YouTuber. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here and being present. And Kirk Gibson says, being argumentative is not the key for sure. Yes, it's not. And Kirk, I'm sure you have seen situations where it has escalated when people start to argue. Even in the leadership world, people will sometimes get really upset and get really frustrated and very, very mad when these situations happen. And so Kirk Gibson is right. You don't want to argue. You absolutely do not want to argue, but you do need to be able to, I would say, at least communicate in a way to where you're still in the conversation, not in a way to where you're out of the conversation. Sometimes if someone's asking you a direct question like that and they're being disrespectful, you don't necessarily want to say and allude to the fact that you're just co-signing on this disrespect. You don't want to do that, but you still want to be able to say, okay, I'm a part of the conversation. I need clarification in terms of what you're going to say, and then respond accordingly. All right, so Theo, the Dog Squad has a bunch of emojis on here. I don't know what all the emojis mean, the Dog Squad, but they are very much appreciated. And Kirk Gibson says, yes, the cowboy. Yes, so absolutely the cowboy. Kirk Gibson says, just argue with people about flat earth. That's crazy. Exactly. There's no need to argue. There is no need to argue. If you come across as arguing, it almost comes across as emotional, and you want to present yourself as a calm person. Now, are there times when you need to use emotion? Absolutely. You have to use it strategically, just as you would your pauses. So that's something we talk about also. And Kirk Gibson said, yes, ma'am. And Kirk Gibson also said, you deflect, then come back. Exactly. Deflect and come back. Deflect and come back. It's almost as if you're throwing, let's say, hot potato. Okay, this is a hot potato because there's some disrespect. There's something going on. I'm throwing the potato back at you, and I'm going to catch it, and I'm going to throw it back, and I'm going to catch it. But who is going to be the person to finish the game? You're going to be the person to finish the game because you're watching this video, because I want you to be able to handle yourself in situations like that. To just be prepared to respond. But the key is, let's say if you're not quite sure what to say, your tone of voice and your eye contact will take you a long, long way. Now, for those of you who do not know the cowboy, I'm going to go over it very quickly because I know a few of you are still here with me. And I appreciate you being here, and especially for those watching the replay. If this is the first video, then I'm glad that you're here with me. So let me see. The Dog Squad said, I'm going to make a video real quick. I will be back. Okay, awesome. And if we're finished by the time you come back, feel free to finish watching the video. Kirk Gibson says, a lot of times it's because of something in their personal life. Kirk, that is 100% correct. 100% correct. Because what happens oftentimes is what I've found, and Kirk obviously has been in some very interesting leadership roles as well as a manager, it is majority time something personal going on. And one of the things that I know I have done when I've had those situations come up, especially if there's been some disrespect that's happened, we've had a back and forth a bit and we've talked about it in a public setting, I will have a conversation with that person to the side and say, how are things going for you? And just ask an open-ended question like that, especially from an executive coaching standpoint like myself. Those open-ended questions help to provide you with a lot of information. So what's going on? How are things going for you? Just checking in, because Kirk is absolutely right. Majority of the time, and I see it most of the time, there's something personal that's going on that's really stressing them out, and they do not know how to control their emotions in a way where they still maintain themselves as executives. So they struggle with it quite a bit. And this is why I focus on communication, handling yourself under pressure so many times on my channel, because a lot of leaders that are even at the C-suite level like I was at, they still struggle with this. They have those days where they get overly emotional and just blow up and just get really upset with their team, and their team is looking at them like, what is going on with you? Like, what really is going on? You have to be able to balance it out in a way to where you still can have a conversation, you still may be dealing with a challenge, but ultimately you have to present yourself as an executive. This is why people struggle with this topic so much, is because they cannot keep themselves as being consistent in terms of how they deliver information. And if you can master consistency, and you can master eye contact, and I'm going to talk about the cowboy in a moment, and you can master your tone of voice, and another, I would say, thing, if you want to master, is your facial expressions, meaning your lips. You need to have in terms of how you're expressing yourself and your body language, you'll go very, very far as it relates to being in a leadership role and really going to that next level of leadership, because eye contact is something that people struggle with. Body language is something that people struggle with. Tone of voice is something that people struggle with. So if you are the person who is able to master eye contact, which is hard and very awkward to do, master your tone of voice, master how you're speaking, then you will automatically be at an entirely higher level than everybody else, because majority of the people in the world are not comfortable with these skills. So if you're watching this channel and subscribe to my channel, this is what I'm helping you do. This is what I want you to do. I want you to be that person that stands out, that can manage these situations, so when they happen, you're not the person to look like you are not ready to be as the leader. So I'll go into the cowboy in just a moment. Let me look at the chat. So the dog squad is back. Welcome back. Kurt Gibson says, amen, same here. Yes. Kurt, I know you've seen it, and I know you've seen it, and so you know what happens with people. The dog squad, there's a couple of emojis. I think that's a high five emoji, the dog squad, so high five back. I believe that's what they are. And Kurt Gibson says, you're speaking the truth. Yes, this is true. A lot of people, there's a lot of things that happen in the wonderful world of leadership, as I would say. The dog squad said, I love your hair. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So what happens in the cowboy? Okay, the cowboy is something that happens often. And this is something I share with my audience. This is my favorite analogy to help you start mastering eye contact. Are you ready? If you envision this in your mind, this will always, and I mean always, help you to master this awkward time of eye contact. And this is so incredibly important. So before I go into it, let me look into the chat. Kurt Gibson says, I have worked for several Japanese companies. ! Eye contact is a must. Yes, you have to make eye contact. You cannot establish yourself as an executive or have your executive presence if you are not making eye contact. You have to do it. So let me share with you my over 20 years worth of experience as a C-suite executive, a manager, director, public speaker, executive coach. I have been on the news. I have done a lot of public speaking engagements. I've interacted with congressional leaders. I've given a Florida State congressional testimony. Let me share with you what my cowboy analogy hopefully will mean for you. So if you have been in a situation where you are not sure and you feel that awkward sense of eye contact and you're just like, oh, I don't want to necessarily make eye contact. It's awkward. I'm scared. Imagine this. This is the cowboy. So whenever you have watched a cowboy movie, now depending on where you are from or what part of the country or the world you're from, you may not know what cowboys here are. Here in the United States, cowboys are cowboys. This is your old Western time frame. And so typically there's a cowboy that go into there may be a dispute, there may be a squabble, there may be something that they don't agree on, and they go outside. And so when they go outside, what are they doing? They're looking at each other. One is looking, so here, one is looking at this cowboy is looking at this cowboy, and they're staring at each other, and they're looking, and they're staring, and they're looking to see who's going to blink first, because the person who blinked first is the person that's probably going to end up laying down on the ground. So how can you use my cowboy analogy? That is my favorite analogy that I completely just made up for eye contact. How can you use this to help you in these situations when you are being disrespected? So do this. When you are making eye contact with someone, remember, you cannot, and I repeat, cannot be the person to look away first. Don't do that. Please don't do that. You have to be the person that can stare at that person and make direct eye contact. And you will be the person that completely stays staring at this individual, but let the other person look away. Why is this so important? Oftentimes you may say nothing. You may go into this situation where someone's disrespecting you and you say, and you're kind of have that conversation. If you can master looking at them, and I don't mean looking at them with a scowl. Like, you don't have to look at them like a cowboy would look at another cowboy, not with a scowl. You can just look at them and just keep your straight face, just like this. If you're having a situation, you're trying to figure out someone's disrespecting you, the smile, no, you don't need a smile. It needs to be a straight face because you're trying to figure out like what's going on. But if you just stare at this person and keep staring at them, there'll become that awkward time that everybody's afraid of when they are making eye contact, where they're just like, I don't know, I want to look away. Ugh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. So if you can just stare at them like a cowboy, right? Remember, you don't want to be the first person to blink, and you don't have to stare like open eyes, but just stare normally. Just stare as you normally would. If you can sit there and stare at them, the longer you stare, they will blink, because they probably are not at a place on your level, because they're probably not watching this YouTube channel, or they may not be, I don't know. But they're probably not at the point where they're even comfortable with eye contact themselves. They may have the ability to talk a lot and be disrespectful to you, excuse me, but eye contact is something that maybe they are not that comfortable with. So if you can be like the cowboy and stare at this person and do not look away. Now, you can still blink, obviously, but if you stare at that person and you do not look away, then, excuse me, you are showcasing yourself as I am in control of this conversation, not you being disrespectful. I'm in control. And that itself will throw that other person off guard, and they'll start to stumble. You'll see them stumble. They'll look away, they'll look down. I mean, they're trying to gather their thoughts like, oh my gosh, this person just stared me in my face for a couple moments. This is how you start to showcase and develop your executive presence. So use the cowboy. Use my analogy. I share it with my clients in a one-on-one setting. We practice this. But of course, on my YouTube channel, I share it for everybody to know because I want you all to do very well. But use the cowboy. Use the cowboy. Any given time you need to make eye contact, do it this way. Even if you're not being disrespected. That's our topic of this specifically. But even if you're not being disrespected, the cowboy, this is by far the most important, even though I'm focused on communication. That is my strength. That is my expertise. Nonverbal communication is just as important. And your eye contact will help you in so many ways develop your executive presence. So just make sure you use the cowboy next time you're trying to have a disrespectful conversation, or if somebody is trying to test you, you have to use eye contact, maintain eye contact. And just as Kirk mentioned earlier, you want to maintain eye contact. It is a must. Now, let's take a look at the chat. Okay, the dog squad said they had to go. Okay, hold on. So let me go back up. Okay, so the dog squad said, "What? I like you. Have a cupcake. Here you go. Is that a cupcake? Well, thank you for giving me a cupcake, the dog squad. I appreciate the cupcake. All right, Kirk Gerson says you're so well spoken and knowledgeable. Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that. And I've been in a lot of situations as a C-suite executive, as a director. I've seen a lot, done a lot, and dealt with a lot, as you probably can tell. So the dog squad said, I gotta go bye. Okay, we'll see you next time. Kirk Gibson says, and I'm a cowboy. Exactly, exactly. Remember the cowboy. Even if you're meeting somebody for the first time, cowboy. Cowboy shows that you are in control. You are in charge. You are the executive. You are the leader. You are managing the situation. Cowboy will help you in any given situation. Be the person to stare and not blink, like I mentioned. Be the person that just stares and just looks at the person. All right, let's see. Kirk Gibson says, like in an interview, never look away from who is interviewing you. Exactly, that is a way. And I do this with my clients in a one-on-one setting, because I do a lot of interview preparations also. I teach them the cowboy too, and we practice the cowboy to make sure they're comfortable. Because even Kirk, as you mentioned, in an interview setting, even though a lot of people feel when they go into an interview, they're thinking, it's like having a white light shining on you and someone's asking you a bunch of questions and you have no control, right? People I talk to, a lot of people feel they have no control in the interview. I teach my clients something different. I want you to still be in control, because ultimately the interviewers were asking you questions, but if you can make that direct eye contact, just as Kurt mentioned a moment ago, that will help you to stand out from other candidates. And believe it or not, some of your interviewers are not comfortable with eye contact. Majority of them are not. So you definitely want to do that. All right, Colton, welcome back. Welcome back. Colton is back. Hi, remember me from last time? Of course, Colton, I remember you from last time. Thank you so much for joining again. Good to see you. We had a long conversation, Colton, last time when you were present. So glad you are here and welcome back. All right, so the dog squad said, guess who's back? I'm back. Kirk Gibson says, you can keep eye contact and still show empathy. Absolutely, you can. As long as it's not the scowl or kind of like looking in that type of way, you still can show eye contact. So eye contact is something that is so incredibly important. It's very, 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 very helpful. And this is one of the things that you have to do to just really elevate yourself as an executive. So let me see what else is going on. So Colton said hi. Glad to see Colton back again. And so a lot of times what happens on the live is that we'll talk about a topic and then we'll go into a different direction. So I remember when I was talking with Colton, there's a lot of things that we were talking about as it relates to just leadership and in general and many other things. So that's the part about the YouTube lives that is really a lot of fun, because I'll have a topic that we're talking about, and that topic will go into various different other topics that we talk about. So we've talked about Bitcoin. We've talked about how to grow your YouTube channel. We've talked about how to diversify your income. We've talked about how to generate additional income. We've talked about how to manage your bosses that try to take credit for your ideas and etc. We talk about so many things during the live. So that's why the lives tend to be a little bit longer, because sometimes there's just great interaction that we're having and we talk about different things. So that's why I want to know from y'all if there's anything specifically that you want to learn more about. I'm here to support you on your journey and help you the best way I can. While I'm waiting for responses, let me see. The dog squad said, wait, I'm back. Welcome back, the dog squad. Glad that you're back. And Kirk Gibson says, let's talk about humility. All right, Kirk, fantastic. So tell me, humility is very, very, very important. So humility is something that many people struggle with, specifically in the leadership realm. Why do they struggle with humility? And Kirk, you're welcome to give any insights you have as I'm talking about this. So why do leaders struggle with humility? What happens as leaders, as managers, as directors, as C-suites? We are so used to being at that very heightened state all the time. Like we're always managing something. There's something going on. There's some decision we're trying to make, and etc. So what happens a lot of times is that people tend to struggle with this. And so let me see if I'm going to end the Q&A, the I think you all see where it disappeared, the poll. So what happens a lot of times is leaders become so busy. Hello, Colton. Welcome back. Welcome back. I was just saying hello to you earlier. I think maybe I didn't know if you were here or not, but I want to say hello, Colton. Welcome, welcome. I was just talking about you about a long conversation. We were talking about long conversations we had before, but welcome back, Colton. Glad to have you back. So, Kurt Gibson says narcissist. So yes. So if we're talking about humility, I would say humility first is definitely something that people struggle with sometimes as when they're elevating themselves as leaders. So I've seen it happen to a lot of high achieving people. For instance, I'll talk to individuals who may need help with something specifically, and they will say, oh, I already know how to do that. I already know how to do that. I already know how to do that. And it is something that they're not humble. And as leaders, we have to always make sure that we are in a place where we have humility, just as Kurt Gibson said. If you're not humble, it makes it very difficult for people to understand and to really engage and talk to you. So let me take a look at the chat really quickly. Colton says, hello again. Hello, Colton. Colton Armendariz says, when do you do live streams? Okay, so Colton, I do live streams Tuesday through Friday. It is usually, the timing varies. So during the week, I do lives around, it might be between 7 to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm here in the United States. And on the evenings, like Friday evenings, like this is our Friday evening now, I have a lot more time to be live, so I can sit and talk a bit more. So usually I do a longer live on Fridays. If there's engagement there and we're talking, then I do a little bit more. So that's when I do my lives, Tuesday through Friday, unless something happens and I can't make it. And so it will not come up as something you won't see me live, but majority of the time I'm here. And Colton says, like every day or because I have to go. No, so it's Tuesday through Fridays. And then Colton, if you miss the live, don't worry about it. It's going to be posted onto my live tab on my YouTube channel. So you always have access to all my lives. If it's something, there's a topic that you see that's interesting to you, or if you have a topic that you want to talk to me more about, then just let me know and I'll do a video just for you, Colton, okay? So let me see, Colton. So let's see, sorry, I sent the wrong thing to you earlier. Sorry. Oh, no problem at all, Colton. And Colton says, can you show me your setup, please, for streaming? Because I want to be just like you. Oh, well, Colton, that's so nice. Well, Colton, what you need, if you have your own channel, then feel free to tell us what your channel is about, because it's not only just me watching the video, there's people that are watching the replay. So if you have a channel you want to talk about, then let us know so we can subscribe to your channel and know more about what you're going to be doing. But I appreciate that. That's so kind of you to say you want to be like me as it relates to streaming. I do want to say that your setup can be very, very, very basic. So my setup at the moment is very basic just because we just moved into a location. And so I don't have everything in terms of my backdrop and all that set up yet. That will be coming very, very soon, hopefully. But I have literally a tripod right now. I can't show it to you because my phone's on the tripod. But I have a tripod that holds my iPhone on it, and I live stream from there. And so that is really my setup. I have a blank background right now, and that's it. That's all that I have. Now, I will tell you, YouTube does have other backgrounds. So they do have a green screen background on here and a few other things as well. But if you're trying to just live stream, you don't have to have much, Colton. I think you just have to have a tripod, a chair, or something like that, or something to sit on. Or if you don't, just sit on, just sit wherever you need to sit. But the background is just not distracting too much. Now, if you want to get professional in your setup and all that, I am going to be doing that, but I'm just not doing that right now. So definitely just keep that in mind, okay? This is something that you just, it's very simple, Colton. You don't have to do a lot. This is something you can do just immediately. My tripod, I've had this tripod, I think, Colton, probably for over a year. I mean, this is just, it's like the one I have here, it is a selfie stick. So it's like you can use it as a selfie stick, but you can use it as a tripod also. So you can just put it together and I can hold it and walk, or I just do that. So I just literally is sitting on the stand here. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Just record, friend. Just record. Just start recording. If you want me to go more into live streaming in YouTube, let me know if you want me to do that, because I'm actually planning to do a live on how I'm growing my YouTube channel. I still have a relatively smaller channel, but it's grown quite a bit, to the point where, Colton, I think you know this too, where I've done so many live streams on YouTube that YouTube invited me to be a member of their live streamer research panel. So I'm testing out features, as I did earlier, trying to look at things and just helping them shape the way of live streaming, because I've live streamed so much. So Colton, if you're planning on doing more live streaming, you're always welcome to ask me any questions at all. You can contact me at Dr. Jacinta Lamontai on LinkedIn, at Excite Excellence on Instagram. You have me here on YouTube. Just send me a message, let me know, and I definitely want to be able to really support you, in that process as you're trying to build your channel. So let me see what else is going on in chat, and then we could talk a little bit more about live streaming. If you want to, just let me know if you're still on. I'll be happy to do that for you, okay? So let me go back to the chat. Raven, welcome back. Raven Maynard is back. Hello, Raven. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. And so Colton Armendariz, my channel is just Colton Armendariz. Okay, fantastic. So Colton Armendariz has his own channel. Definitely take a look. I'll spell the last name his first name is Colton. Last name is Armendariz. For those of you who are watching, if you want to try to check out his videos. All right, so Kirk Gibson says, I do get that a lot of CEOs with narcissism or having sociopath tendencies make great CEOs. I'm not saying all. Well, I think you bring up a really, really, really good point, Kirk, because there's a lot of good CEOs, but there's a balance there. Do you know? I know you understand it. There's a balance there, and there's some people that make good CEOs, but there's some people that really don't. And I don't necessarily think that. To me, and this is one of the things that I talk about on my channel, is when I talk about developing your executive presence and etc. CEOs, just as Kirk Gibson mentioned, they have to be able to. You have to present yourself as a different person. You can't just be the same person that you are when you're just starting out. You have to be at a higher level in all aspects of your professional life. And sometimes, as Kirk mentions, narcissism comes up. But what I've found is what really makes those engaging leaders is something what I work with my clients on and help my audience with, is to develop charisma. Charisma is something that is really powerful, especially as a leader. And CEOs, like C-suites like myself, we have to be leaders. And when you look up the Oxford Languages Dictionary of charisma, charisma's definition is a devotion to, basically you're helping people to be devoted to you, your ability to devote and inspire others. And so I have found that having that charisma is really important. There's a lot of great CEOs out there, and some of them may be narcissists. I definitely don't doubt that at all, Kurt. You and I know that probably is the case for many of them. But I do believe that there is a different level of charisma you have to have. And can narcissists be charismatic? I guess, maybe, but there's still a part of them that's not really the people that people want to talk to. Do you really want to talk to a narcissist? Not really. So when you're thinking about making that big impact and really inspiring other people, charisma is very, very important. And so that's what I would say to that. But Kurt Gibson, you bring up a really good point. So Colton Armendariz says, please sub. Yes, absolutely, Colton. I will take a look at your channel later today or in the morning. All right, so Colton Armendariz says, my kids post most of the videos on my channel. Oh, do they? Okay. I understand that. I know my daughter's trying to start her channel at some point. Raven Maynard says, I love your hairstyle. Well, thank you, Raven. I appreciate that. I love the fit too. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I love your hair, girl. It is so cute. Well, thank you, Raven. I appreciate you. All right. Kurt Gibson says, I'm not trying to upset anyone. Well, Kurt, you're telling this is the reality. This is what we deal with. There are a lot of people out there that are narcissists. And when you think about your CEOs, it's just so important for you to be able to get charisma. I tell people, and I looked up a definition. There's a book out there that talks about executive presence. And in the book, I haven't read it yet. I'm writing my own book on executive presence, by the way, for all of you to know. But in the book, I believe they talk about a formula. I've seen other people talk about it, so I'm assuming it's in the book. I'm going to read it just so I know. But they talk about executive presence is 60% gravitas, 30% communication, 10% appearance. And I completely disagree with that. I mean, I don't know, maybe years ago that's what it was. But now I don't believe that that's it. I believe you have to have, yes, your appearance does matter. It does. But you have to have charisma. And my very humble definition of executive presence, and I've seen executive presence definitions that are literally this long, everybody, this long, in terms of what they're trying to explain. It's more academic. Mine is definitely more real life. It's simple. Executive presence is your ability to inspire and influence other people. That's it. That's my personal definition of it. So you're not upsetting anyone, Kurt, at all. This is what happens in the world of leadership. You've seen it. You've worked with a lot of CEOs, so you know exactly what happens. I've worked with a lot of CEOs too, and I see them do the same thing too, Kurt. So appreciate you bringing that up. So Raven says, I love playing Roblox. Yes, Raven. I know we talked about Roblox yesterday. I feel like we talked about Roblox yesterday. I think we did. So yes, absolutely. I know you love playing Roblox. I play Roblox. I have a daughter that plays Roblox. So Colton Armandira says, do you have to have 50 subscribers to live stream? I believe you do. I believe you do. And I will look that up for you. I can't do it now because I'm live. But I believe you do. I believe you have to have at least 50 subscribers to live stream. I think you do, Kurt. I never did Kurt, but I think you do, Colton. So it's been a while. I was already above that when I started live streaming on my channel earlier this year. So Colton, I think you have to have 50 subs. How many subs do you have right now if you want to share? If not, it's okay. But just work on a great way to start getting subscribers, Colton, if you're not at 50 subscribers yet, is to let your inner networking group know you have a YouTube channel or you're starting your YouTube channel. That's a great way for you to start getting those subscribers. Like letting the people you know. I know you know 50 people. Or you may have 50 people that your kids know or etc. But you want to be very strategic. And I made this mistake on my channel very, very early on also. You have to be strategic in terms of who is subscribing to your channel. So for instance, when I was first starting out, I did anybody. I mean, I wasn't very clear on who I wanted to subscribe to my channel. And so I opened it up to many people, and I had a lot of people subscribing to my channel that were not in my audience. So eventually I transitioned that. This is a long time ago now, but I transitioned those individuals. They're still part of my subscriber list, more than likely, or they may not be, I don't know. But I started focusing more on leaders. And as many of you know, in terms of my client base, in terms of who I'm working with, I work with women in leadership, but my content here is about leadership. So it doesn't matter if you're a man in leadership, woman in leadership, leadership is leadership. And there's certain things that you have to know regardless of gender. Leadership transcends gender, but I focus specifically on who I work with. So my content focuses more on leadership. So people like Kurt Gibson and also like Colton and other individuals that are on my channel now, these individuals are already leaders or they've been in leadership roles. And so that is who I want to interact with because I'm trying to help leaders become even better than how they have been by how they're communicating. So I believe you have to have 50. I think you do, but there's ways that you can grow. And if you want to talk more about it, we can absolutely do it. Okay, so Kurt Gibson says, I agree. And Kurt Gibson says, yes, you nailed it. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Raven says, slay. Raven says, she's a baddie. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I work pretty hard. So Raven says, you're welcome. How many kids do you have? I have 3. And Raven says, what does that word mean? Word mine? I am confused. Which, Raven, tell me which word you're talking about. And just let me know Let me know in the chat. Excuse me. So Kirk Gibson says it's about having people skills. Yes, people skills is so important. And as you mentioned, Kirk Gibson, earlier, a lot of people may be CEOs and they may be narcissists, but having those people skills is the best way for you to be able to really manage yourself and really be that leader that people are looking for. So absolutely, Kirk, I agree with you 100%. Colton Armendira says, my kid slammed his head into a wall because he has a condition and broke his head this time, even though he wears a helmet. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I hope that things are getting better from the last time that you and I spoke. So I hope things are getting better. I really do. I really do. Just keep me posted on how everything's going with you and in your child. Yes. Okay, so Raven Maynard says, can you tell me, please? I just joined and I'm so confused. What that world means? Can you tell me what it means? Are you talking about executive presence, Raven? Let me know. Let me know what word you're talking about. Or what did you hear? Which word are you talking about? And even if you don't say it correctly, I'll figure out what it is. Okay, Colton. So right now, Colton, you have 34 subscribers. Okay, great. So Colton Armendira says they are getting better, except for we just found out he has a condition. Oh, okay. So, okay. And Colton Armendira says that makes him uncontrollably eat metal. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, at least you're getting some progress on that. I know we had a long discussion about your son earlier. I mean, in a previous video. So I appreciate that. But at least you've been able to do some, I would say, some diagnosing for him. So yes, I absolutely hope that things get better. At least they're getting a little bit better. So hopefully all is going well. I know we had a long conversation about that last time, and I remember everything we talked about. So yes, absolutely. I'm glad to hear he's doing better. Okay, so Raven Maynard, executive presence. Yes, okay, I'll go into that in just a moment, just for you, Raven. Kirk Gibson says everybody is different, so you have to speak to everybody different. Yes. So Kirk Gibson brings up a very, very, very good point. And this is why tone of voice is so critically important as a leader. And especially, we talked a little bit about being disrespected, but tone of voice is just as important when you're just communicating with people too. So Kirk Gibson's been in the manager role. So Kirk knows how you have to communicate to different people in different ways. So I've dealt with different individuals as it relates to how they communicate. Some people are very logical, and you do not have to sugarcoat or explain to them or speak in the most softest tone of voice to them. You just tell them what's going on, and they pick it up and understand it. You have other people, on the other hand, who are very emotional. They are just highly emotional people. And if you say something to them in a affirmative tone of voice, they're going to take it personally and get really upset. And there's other people who you have to do a mix of both. So you have to know your teams. And Kirk Gibson makes a really good point. Everybody is different, so you have to speak to them differently. Use different tones of voices. So I know for me, when I've worked with people that are a bit more emotional, and I know they're emotional, I lead my conversations a bit differently. And Kirk, you're always welcome to give some insight here. So what I have done in those situations is typically, if I have a highly emotional person, when they come in, I will say, okay, how are things going for you today? And just talk to them in a very, very soft voice, kind voice. If there's something I still have to talk to them about, let's say if there's a situation that happened or issue or a difficult conversation I have, I still have to have it. But your tone of voice truly helps to dictate what you say and how it is perceived. So if you can start mastering your tone of voice, you're going to be able to navigate those conversations when they come up, because they will come up all the time. And you have to be very, 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 very just kind in your voice to those people. If you, as something to think about, as a leader, we have a lot going on, and you need to have a difficult conversation with someone that's a bit more just emotionally driven in terms of how they operate, how they upset. These are going to be your people that are going to cry in your office, that you're going to need tissue for. So this is the people that I'm referring to. You don't want to talk to those people when it's the end of the day and you've had a long day. You do not want to talk to those people when you're in the middle of a big project and your mind is already done. Those are times when you just don't want to have those conversations where you have to think. So for instance, for me, I'm not the highly emotional type person like that. I can't be. I'm a C-suite. Like I just that's no. Like you can't do that. So I have to have conversations with these individuals when I'm in a right mind state to be able to say, how are things going? What's going on, etc. Now, that's just what I found. You have to be very mindful of who you're speaking with and when you're speaking with them also, because sometimes you may not be able to talk to them at that time you want to if you have mentally got a lot of things going on. So you have to balance that out too, because you want to still present yourself as a very, very engaged, very understanding person, and you still want to be engaged and understanding, but you just may need to modify your tone of voice, and you have to think about it a little bit more so this person doesn't completely get upset. Now, as I mentioned, sometimes if you have to say something, it's a challenging situation, you're going to have to say it, regardless of if they're emotional or not. You still have to have that conversation. But you want to be mindful of your specific state also in terms of how you are communicating with other people as well. All right, so let me see what else is going on in the chat. Colton Armendariz says, but what you said, getting better parental controls worked. Oh, really? Okay, fantastic. Well, Colton, I'm glad that the parental controls work for you. I really am. We had a long conversation about that, right? We had a long conversation about parental controls. He doesn't have as much screen time and does not look as possessed. Laugh out loud. I know we talked about that last time, Colton. So I'm glad that he does not look as possessed. So that is fantastic. I'm giving you a high five from over here in the States, because I'm glad. I know we talked at length about that last time. And so I'm glad that those parental controls help. You're getting a bit more control, and he's looking better. He's looking better. So that's great. I'm happy to hear that. I really am. Okay, Kirk Gibson says, some people are very sensitive. Yes, Kirk. Kirk is right. Some people are very sensitive. I think you have levels of sensitivity. We have sensitive, somewhat sensitive, and you have people that are way up here sensitive. And I've dealt with way up here sensitive, and those are the ones, as I mentioned, you have to be really, really mindful in terms of when you speak to them and what's going on. Because if you just had a rough day and it's been a lot going on, that's not the time to talk to your sensitive person. It's just not. If you're not a highly sensitive person, and more than likely if you're in a leadership role, you probably are not. Well, you may be, possibly, but you want to just really be mindful of that. Okay, so Kirk Gibson said, exactly, you deflect and show care. Absolutely, Kirk, that is correct. Kirk Gibson says, I always take deep breaths and walk outside to see the beauty, then I'm ready. That's a really great suggestion, Kirk Gibson. I appreciate you so much for bringing that up, because that is a great strategy that anyone can use when they are trying to have a conversation with someone, just to take a breath. Sometimes you need that change of scenery, even if it's only for just a moment, just for a moment, just to take your mind out of where you are and come back in. So Kirk, I appreciate you so much for bringing that up. That is something that many people that are watching the replay will really appreciate and really try to do. And that's great that you're showcasing this from your perspective as a manager in terms of what's helped you. So I appreciate that, Kirk. Thank you so much. Jude B, hey, welcome back. Hey, I'm back. Jude B says, hey, I'm back. Hello, Jude B. Welcome back. Glad you're here with us again today. Appreciate you being here and appreciate you being back. Okay, Kirk Gibson says, I'm going to be more selective when I comment. Laugh out loud. Yes. I mean, it all comes down to strategy and just listening and observing. Now, I have a whole conversation, a lot of videos I talk about specifically as it relates to body language. And one of the things, and Kurt, I'm sure you've noticed this also, when you're in those high stakes meetings, those high pressure meetings, eye contact, the cowboy, is very important. Observing is very important too. So a lot of times people's body language will tell you what they are not willing or wanting to say. So observing them and paying attention to how they are they speaking. Who are they speaking with? Maybe you can ascertain some information in terms of, okay, I see they talk a bit more to Mary or John or Susie or Mark or whoever. Or you may notice that they may try to, when they're asked a question, you may see them start to shift gait. And so they may move to the side a bit, or they start moving around or start looking down. Like when you can, if you start to observe people and really pay very close attention and manage that eye contact with other people, it shows you a lot about them in terms of where they are and how they're feeling. Are they feeling comfortable? Are they feeling uncomfortable? And that is how you can gauge when you should comment and when you might want to wait. Sometimes if someone is already appearing as if they are so upset, like you can tell they are visibly just like they're at a point where they are over it and they're really frustrated, it may not be the time for you to talk about why they made an error on this report. It may just not be the right time. It may not be the right time to talk about it. But you have to observe to pick that up. And that's really, really important. That's something I teach my clients in terms of how to read the room. And if you're looking for additional support, definitely reach out to me in a strategy session in the link below. That will absolutely help you with this also. All right, so Jude B says hello again, and Kirk Gibson says exactly. Kirk Gibson says listening is the most important. Yes, Kirk, listening is tremendously important. Listening not only with your ears, if you have the ability to hear, but also observing with your eyes. That is a way to see what is going on in the room. And that's what I help my clients with when they're trying to read the room and read people. We really focus on in a one-on-one setting how to develop those active listening skills and really try to observe and see exactly what is going on in the room. Sometimes you don't need to say anything in the room. You don't need to say anything at all. You just need to see what's going on. So Kirk Gibson says true. Absolutely. So appreciate you being here and giving some feedback on that. So Raven mentioned earlier specifically about executive presence. So executive presence is the way that you are able to inspire and influence other people. That's my very humble definition that I made up for me. That's Dr. Jacinta's definition. But specifically, when you have people that are in leadership roles and are trying to go to that next level as leaders, there's something that makes them stand out from other people. And many times people are not sure what it is. Why is this person so different? How do they stand out from everybody? That encompasses their executive presence. So their executive presence, some people call it leadership presence, but more commonly it's known as executive presence, is really your ability to influence other people. And that's just my definition. But it has a lot to do with how you carry yourself, how you are communicating with other people. What do you say? How do you say it? When do you say it? Where do you say it? How do you dress? How do you interact with other people? How do you manage projects? Do you manage the project successfully? Are you able to generate revenue? Are you able to develop results? Are you able to fulfill an engagement or agreement? All of those things build up into your executive presence. And this helps to build you into the person that stands out from other people. Many people that are leaders that are struggling in their roles, they may be thinking, well, I haven't been promoted for this job, and there's a lot of things going on, or maybe there's some office politics. You're just trying to figure out, well, how do I navigate this so I can get to where I need to go in my career? A lot of times people just don't have that executive presence. Why? Because it's something that is I would say it's a relatively new term, but it's not new because obviously people have been having this for decades and ages. It's just been maybe called something different. But oftentimes people don't really know how to develop themselves as that leader that stands out from everybody else because they haven't been taught how to do so. And there's so many things out there. There's a lot of content out on YouTube that talks specifically about executive presence. And what I've seen, a lot of the content, some of it is really academic in nature. And so you have people that have been maybe they did a degree in leadership development or change management, or maybe they did a degree in another educational field or something along those lines, where they've interacted with people and they're bringing their academics in terms of what they learned in terms of leadership, in terms of what executive presence is. And it makes it very difficult for them to understand that because you have to be in real situations, in the trenches, as we say, in any situation, to know exactly what happens to develop your executive presence. And this is what it means to be a leader. Leaders have an executive presence. They do. There's something about them that other people want to follow them. And that is what it means to be a leader. A leader is not you being a person that is sitting on the throne and looking down at everybody and be like, what is everybody doing? What is everybody doing? It's not you being the king. It's not you being the queen. It is how you can work together with a group of people to achieve a common goal, whether that's in your business or whether that's with the organization you work with, the school you're at, or etc. So that's what executive presence is to me. That's my very humble explanation of it. So let's see. Kurt Gibson says, that's why I love getting to know all people in my life to better understand their wants and needs. Yes. And Kurt, I'm sure you are an amazing manager, because by mentioning that I did the same thing also. I was very vested in my team members' success. So if there's something that they were trying to accomplish in their lives, I really wanted to know about it, because I wanted them to be the employees that went to that next level. I never expected the employees I worked with to stay at the company I worked at as a C-suite or a director for the rest of their lives. I definitely didn't want that, because I want people to grow. And Kurt, I can tell that you wanted to do the same thing too. Because if you understand their wants and their needs, then as a leader, as the person working with them, you can help them be able to go to that next level on the journey. So fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up. All right. Kurt Gibson says, and of course, should lean an ear to listen. Yes, absolutely. And most people just want to be heard. Yes, Kurt, absolutely. They just want to be heard. And if you even, okay, hold on, let me see. And if you're struggling, they may just believe what you actually have to offer. Yes, and Kurt, that's a really good point. And yes, I know you said, I hope that made sense. Yes, that absolutely did make sense. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So, as Kurt mentioned, it is important for you to listen. Just being there and listening to what someone has to say is very, 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 very important. So this is something that you absolutely want to keep in mind, as it relates to being a leader and developing your executive presence and being able to just be that person that stands out from everybody else. You have to genuinely want to care. And if you're the person that's maybe chasing the numbers or chasing the revenue, ultimately, you may get by for a little while, but people will eventually find out that you do not care. And you don't want to be that leader. You may have numbers and revenues and things like that you're trying to take care of, absolutely, but ultimately you have to care if you're really trying to make that big impact on the road, which I know many of you are trying to do because you're watching my channel or you're subscribed to my channel or you're watching the videos. So this is something that is very, very important. You have to be able to just show that you care. Really be that person that actually does care. And if you are struggling, I will say, if you're struggling and you know that you're that person that does not care, then contact me for a strategy session, because we really need to talk, because you have to care about other people. I've interacted with leaders over the years, and I have seen them not be able to care about people. They don't care about people. They care about the money. They care about the revenue, and employees and team members are all replaceable. I hate to say this, but from the perspective of a C-suite and a director and a manager, yes, there are managers and directors and C-suites that think just like that. Now, I hate to hurt everybody's feelings, but this is the reality. Everybody out there that's a leader, they are not leading you. They are leading themselves and leading what's going to help them. And that is the unfortunate reality that happens. And I'm here because I share with you real strategies, real scenarios that happen. And in real life, I've worked with these individuals that are at higher levels, and that's all they care about. That's it. So you don't want to be that person. You genuinely do want to have a vested interest, because the world is small. Believe it or not, it's a lot smaller than you think. And so if you can make a big impact on somebody's life as they're developing on their journey, then not only are you going to probably be interacting or have some really great experience with them, but you're probably going to interact with other generations that they have, because they're going to learn some of the skills and knowledges that you have taught them and pass it along to either their loved ones, their family ones, their children, and etc. So this is what it means to really be a leader. You have to genuinely do care about people. And when you care about people and show people you care about them and listen to what they have going on, then people, that's where charisma comes from. That's that inspired devotions from other people that comes up in the Oxford Language Dictionary, that's my abbreviated version of it. But that's where charisma comes in. People can't be inspired to be devoted to you if you don't even listen to them. You have to listen to them in terms of what they're doing. All right, so Kirk Gibson says, my new favorite stream, hands down. Well, thank you, Kirk. Absolutely. We're glad that you're here. Feel free to subscribe. Really have enjoyed the conversation with you and a few other individuals today. I just appreciate you all being here. And this is the reason why the live streaming has been a very big part of my channel, because I really do enjoy these conversations and being able to engage with other individuals, talk to other leaders, and talk to other individuals. Sometimes we talk about things that are directly related to leadership. And then sometimes we talk about things like Roblox and kids that are not related to leadership directly. But this is why it's fun. I like having these conversations. I've had great conversations. I've had conversations where people have made not nice comments. And so I always tell my audience, the way you learn how to handle a contentious situation or challenging situation, you learn it by seeing somebody actually do it. And so I mentioned to my audience yesterday, I mentioned a little bit earlier in my live, that I'm actually going to break out a couple of my videos when I've had those contentious moments come up, when someone says something ill or not nice or try to just be mean, how I responded. So when you see how I respond, then you see I'm not just teaching you how to develop your executive presence or how to handle yourself under pressure or how to control your emotions when you're in a public setting. This is what I do. I do this all the time. Even on YouTube, I've done this as in my roles over the past 20 years. This is just what I do. And so I'm going to break those out so you all can see it and put them into shorts. So these will be small, very, very small teaching moments where I can show you this is what I do when someone says something not nice. So that you can do something similar. Okay, so Kirk says, amen. Well, thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that. And Kirk Gibson says, you should want that person to go home every day a better person. Yes, exactly. And you want that person, we're specifically talking about employees, to be in a situation where you are helping them go to that next level in their journey. All right. And Kirk Gibson also says, I can't wait. Absolutely. Well, Kirk, well, absolutely. Well, I definitely will be putting those out here very soon. I have a couple videos where it's happened recently. And so I'll put those particular shorts up. Now, for those of you who are watching, and we talked about this, I think we talked about it earlier, or maybe about my previous live. So if you have any leaders that inspire you or leaders that motivate you, let me know in the comments below, or if you're watching in the replay, let me know in the comments. Because what I'm going to do, and this is a project I'm working on. So this is something that I'm going to do not in the live setting, but it's going to be my pre-recorded videos, because I'm going to go back to doing a mix of live and video, live streams that I do Tuesday through Friday, and then pre-recorded videos. So what I'm going to be doing is, for those of you who have any world leaders or individuals who really inspire you or motivate you, let me know who they are. What I would do is I will be able to do an analysis of those leaders for you. And I will do a video, give you a shout out in the video, and talk about what this leader does to inspire or motivate other people. And I'm giving you this from my perspective as a public speaker for over 20 years. And when I put that together, what you can do is learn the strategies or the techniques that these individuals that you watch all the time that inspire you or motivate you. I will put it together in an analysis so that you can start using some of those strategies and techniques in your everyday conversations to other people. This will even help you stand out even more as a leader, because you are picking up skills, excuse me, from other individuals that are already communicating at a higher level, that are inspiring you and motivating you. So when you are communicating with your teams and your business and etc., you are at a place where you are communicating in a way that inspires other people, not only by what you do, but also by how you communicate. So let me know in the comments below, or if you're watching the replay, who are some leaders that you want me to review? I have a couple leaders already set up. There's a few people that have given me a few already. So I'm going to start working on those particular people here very soon in terms of doing videos. So I'm going to, as long as the leaders that you choose, even if you're in another part of the world, as long as I can translate it into English, or if I can just watch a video of them and their body language, I can find it online, I would do a video just for you. Because a lot of times what I find that people struggle with in public speaking in communicating in leadership and etc. is that we just don't know what to do. We don't know what to say or how to say it. How can I be that big speaker, or how can I really engage my team, or how can I really communicate at that very, very elite level? Well, if someone can just show you what people do, this is how it will help you. Now, I'll give you an example of a video. I have several shorts on my channel where I did a review of the presidential debate from last year. So I looked at both candidates, unbiased, and I just gave insights in terms of what they were doing that helped their message, what they were doing that maybe detracted from the message. This will be that type of similar format, but I will do it, excuse me, for other individuals that are speaking more in your setting. I want to do the leaders that are inspired for you, that are actually, you are interested in learning how they communicate. So I have a lot of people so far. I know, I can't believe, it may have been one of the individuals that was on the live today. No, it was somebody else that mentioned a list of people. So I have a few people to work on. So I have a few videos that's going to come up, and that you'll be able to use those strategies in your everyday conversations, and you will automatically stand out from everybody else, along with subscribing to the channel and watching what I'm doing. Okay, so Kirk Gibson says, remember, most of us are away from our family at work more than we are actually at home. Yes, that is so true. So inspire to leave home and shut it off and bring home happiness to your loved ones. Yes, and leaders really do struggle with this because we deal with so many things. It's hard to turn it off. So I know I had a struggle with that, particularly, I would say, as a C-suite. I struggle with that because as C-suite, you're doing a lot. You're dealing with a lot. You're managing a lot of people. You're managing a lot of projects. You're managing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so, yes, sometimes it is very difficult for leaders to be able to make this transition to not bring work at home. One of the things that I did to stop doing that is that when I went home, I did not talk about work. Just didn't talk about it. Left work at work, didn't talk about it. If I had messages or emails I needed to respond to, I respond to those. And that's just what I did. I just did not communicate about work. There's no need to talk about it. Because I found out when I started talking about work, I would talk about it, and then I would go back into the work mode. And I would start thinking about it. And then if something really frustrated me, I would be frustrated while I'm at home. And that's not what I want to do. At that particular time, I was developing my business and working on my YouTube channel. So I just did not have time to be in that mindset of thinking about work outside of work. So yes, great point, Kirk. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay, leave work. Yes, I knew what you meant. No problem. And Kirk says, where are your followers? Come on. Oh, well, believe it or not, this is a longer live. This is actually my second live this evening. And so a lot of times what happens on your live videos is that you'll have your people that are watching your replays. That's where a lot of people will watch it. So there's many people that are, and it's Friday nights. Sometimes Friday nights, there may be a longer engagement. Sometimes there may not be. It's fine. It just depends on the content and what's going on. But sometimes Friday night, people are out and about doing other things, and so they'll watch the replays later. So yes, appreciate you saying that. If you have any colleagues or friends of yours that are really trying to go to that next level in terms of how they speak and speak in a really concise way and really be able to handle those very high stakes, high pressure situations, this is definitely the best place for them to be. I will help them. I'm on LinkedIn at Dr. Jacinta Lamentai. I'm on Instagram at Excite Excellence, and I'm here on YouTube, of course. So absolutely, just feel free to share that to them, and the followers will come. I mean, right now, I'm just trying to provide as much value as I can and help everybody that I can, especially as they're trying to communicate at that higher level. So I want more people to be subscribed to the channel and follow me, but ultimately that will come. Right now, I'm just building value. I'm just trying to help make more amazing leaders in this world, because we definitely need more amazing leaders in this world today, just like you, Kirk. So appreciate that. So Kirk says, and you have 3 children. God bless you. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, things are very busy, and I do this in between, obviously, being with my kids. So I spend, as much as you talked about earlier about spending time at work. Well, this is work for me, and this is spending time with my audience and interacting with them and getting to know them. And then, of course, I have my family time where I'm with my kids. So appreciate that. And yes, God bless me. I appreciate that. That's very, very kind of you. I appreciate that so much. Well, I want to know if you have any other questions. If not, then I will see you all next week when I go live next Tuesday. I hope you all have an amazing Labor Day weekend is what it is here in the United States. We have Labor Day on Monday. And if you have any questions in the interim, let me know. If there's any topics that you want to learn more information about, feel free to let me know in the comments of any of the videos. Or if you're watching the video and you say, oh, I want to learn a bit more about, how do you handle this situation, or what can I do if I have this particular situation, as office politics and etc. and all that. So just let me know. I'll do a video just for you and give you a shout out in it, and I will comment to you. Also, I'm here to support you. If you need any additional support as it relates to just that one-on-one strategy, then feel free to contact me for a strategy session in the description below. And I appreciate y'all. And Kirk Gibson, you're still here, so I appreciate you being here. And God bless you too, Kirk. I appreciate you. Absolutely. Well, okay, great, Kirk. Just find me at Dr. Jacinta Lamantie. It is in the description below. So feel free to connect with me there on LinkedIn. Be happy to be a follower on you as well. So appreciate your support, and feel free to come back again. All my lives are not this long. So normally Friday evenings I have longer lives. It just depends on what the conversation is, but normally they're not this long. But I'm here to support you. I really want to help as many people as I can. And I appreciate you so much, Kirk Gibson, for your insights. And always great to talk to a fellow manager, because there's a lot of understanding we already know about the wonderful world of management and leadership that a lot of people may not be privy to because they haven't been behind the scenes. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate your support. And Kirk Gibson says, peace, girl. I'm on it. Well, absolutely. Thank you. Look forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn. And I will see you all in the next video. Videos to watch. Think on your feet. There's several Think on your feet videos I have on my channel that related to being disrespected at work. So thinking on your feet is one of them. Handling your emotions under pressure is another one. So there's a couple videos that are on my live feeds that will be helpful to you if this is something that you're working on. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for the heart emojis, and I hope you have an amazing weekend. Bye for now.